and that you are having an amazing evening so far. Pardon. All right, so for our lesson for today, right, it is basically a high school lesson or high school English lesson on writing arguments, right? So we are going to focus on writing arguments under the grade 9 lesson. However, it is beneficial for all high school students, right? All right. So this is a English lesson for high school students on writing arguments. And once again, we are mainly going to focus on the lesson in grade 9 on writing arguments. However, it will be beneficial for all high school students, right? When it comes to writing. All right, so before we start with our lessons, please go to the aplusstudents.ca page. Once you are by aplusstudents.ca, and then you're going to log in with your username as well as your password. Once you've logged in with your username as well as your password, you're going to select the subject of language arts, right? And then we're going to scroll down until we get to grade 9, right? And like I say, we are going to focus on the lesson, or let's say the chapter of writing arguments under the grade 9 lesson. However, it is beneficial for all high school students. So, the chapter that we are focusing on under the K grade 9 category, right, is writing arguments. So the chapter is writing arguments, and there's going to be a few lessons that we are going to be focusing on, right, which is to distinguish facts from opinions, choose evidence to support a claim, choose the analysis that logically connects the evidence to the claim. We're going to be choosing the most appropriate counterclaim for a given claim, identify supporting evidence within a text, and then depending if we still have time, we will do transition logically between claims, evidence analysis, and counterclaims. So when we do advanced writing, right, or formal writing, not informal writing, we do formal academic writing, then there's going to be different ways in which you are going to have to write. And one of it being arguments, right? So with writing an argument, the like the lesson 1 says, you need to distinguish facts from opinion, right? Which means that if you are also researching certain things or certain arguments or certain facts or anything, right, or ideas, then we need to mainly have facts about whatever we are researching instead of just having our own opinions of what we think it is, right? And remember, there's nothing wrong with giving your opinion. However, when stating your opinion, it should mainly be an add on to the facts that you have listed. So we're going into the first lesson, which is distinguish facts from opinions. All right. So our very first lesson, right, which is facts from opinions, right? It says statements of facts. They make claims that are based on research, right? On observations as well as experimentations. And facts can be proved with evidence. So if you are stating any facts, right, via researching, or through observations or in form of experimentation, right? And then of course you need to have your evidence that proves that this is the facts that I am talking about. And if you are writing an essay, then Our evidence mainly is our references that will be added on to show that this is where I got the facts. I either got it in a book, I got it on the internet, right? And this is the facts or the evidence of the facts, right? You can go to this page in the book that was published whenever, right? So that is basically our evidence. So once again, statements of fact, it makes claims that are based on research, on observations, or experimentations, right? And also with research, observations, and experimentations, right, it needs to also be written down or noted, right? Because once you note it or write it down or you record it, that will also be your evidence. Because remember, they said facts can be proved with evidence. Because remember, if there's no evidence, right, most people will think that this is basically just your opinion, right? There is no claims or no evidence that supports whatever you are saying, which means that this is something that you had made up. If we look at the next one, it says Napoleon Bonaparte was shorter than King Louis, right? Between King Louis. This statement is the fact. The statement is a fact, right? And the statement can be verified by researching and comparing height of each man. So Napoleon Bonaparte was shorter than King Louis, right? So King Louis the Sixth, the 16th, right? And this is a fact. And why do we say this is a fact? We say that this is a fact, right? Because if we now go on the internet, right, and we type in literally that whole sentence as is, or we look at the height descriptions or pictures to show, right, that will basically that we will find evidence on the internet, then we will be able to verify that Napoleon Bonaparte was shorter than King Louis, right? And the statements that you research, right, it can be verified. And once again, it is verified by researching, and it is verified by comparing the height of each man, right? So that is facts. So statements of facts, they make claims that are based on research, right? Your research needs to be there. Your observation needs to be noted down to state that this is what you have observed, or in the form of a recording, this is what I have seen and observed, and you have noted it down, right? Or experimentation, right? These are all things that needs to be written down, or things that we can just go to the internet, look for evidence, and then that will be the facts that can prove that it links with the evidence, right? And that will basically just be a verification, right, by either researching or by the comparing of certain things. Or you can have a noted down information that says that this is my research, this is my observation, this is my recordings of whatever claims that you are making. So that is facts, right? So now we have statements of opinions. So we have facts and we have opinions. So statements of opinion. It makes claims that are based on personal judgment or perspectives. Opinions can be supported by evidence, but they cannot be definitely proved, right? Why can't it be definitely proved? That is because that is my claim, right? It is your claim. It is your opinion, right? That is your personal judgment on something or your perspective on something. That is not research, it is not observation, and it's not experimentation, right? It is a personal judgment as well as a personal perspective of whatever that is going on. And of course, we said, yes, opinions can be supported by evidence, right? But many, like like what I mentioned earlier on, if you state your opinion, right, then it should at least be an add on, or you may be stating your opinion based on the facts that was presented, right? So you first present your facts, then you can basically um, state or give your opinion on something, right? Or your personal judgment or perspective on something. But like I say, that is usually once you have submitted or written down or noted all of your facts. Okay, so now if we again look at the same question but in a different way, right? In this case, we almost are talking about the opinions, right? So Napoleon Bonaparte was a better leader than King Louis. So this is a statement of opinion, right? People can have different ideas about what makes someone a better leader. So the statement cannot be proved, right? Because remember, leadership skills, it differs from person to person. Making yourself a better leader, right? It depends also on the crowd. Sometimes people might like you for a different form of reason other than your leadership skills, but that does not make you a better leader, right? So that is why we say statements is an opinion also, right? Or the opinions, right? And people can have different ideas about what makes someone either a better leader or what they think is better leadership skills, right? So in cases of opinions, these kind of statements cannot be proved because if we were to find evidence as to Bonaparte was a better leader than King Louis, right? If we do even interviews as a form of evidence, right? Then of course your, or let's say people's responses will be on the basis of who they liked more. All right. So that is now the difference between facts and the difference between opinions. And once again, we said statements of facts, they make claims that are based on research because it's legit, observations, or experimentations, right? So facts, they make claim that is based on research, observation, or experimentation, right? And all of the facts that you have written down or so on, it is or it can be proven or proved with evidence, right? And where will we find our evidence? It can be verified by researching something, right? That is usually our evidence. We verify evidence by researching, especially if you need to write essays, then it means that we will go back to see that if this is just your opinion or if you are stating facts. And we said that an opinion or statements of opinions, they do make claims that are based on personal judgment or on personal perspectives. This is what I think, right? This is my perspective on things. It is your perspective on things. This is not facts, right? And yes, of course, we do have certain opinions that are supported by evidence, right? But most of our opinions, it cannot be proven. And the reason why it cannot be proven, it's because it is basically just our opinion. It is our personal judgment. It is basically our perspective on what we think is correct. All right. We need to look at these two statements. Which sentence states a fact? So we are going to look at these two sentences and then we are going to state which one state facts. W. E. B. Du Bois's essays were compelling and insightful, but sometimes the language he used was difficult to understand. Or it's the next one, which is W. E. B. Du Bois was a founding member of the National Association for Advancement of Colored People, which is NAACP, right? If we were to look at what the fact is within the sentence, the first one, before we go on to identify which sentence states facts, the first sentence says W.E.B. Du Bois's essays were compelling and insightful, but sometimes the language used was difficult to understand. That is someone giving their own opinion on what they basically have read so far, pardon about his essays, right? Saying that the essay is insightful, however, it is difficult to understand, right? Which means that it is difficult to understand for that specific that is reading, specific person that is reading, right? So that is an opinion. Then we have W.E.B. Du Bois was a founding member of the National Association for Advancement of Colored People, which means that the option two, W.E.B. Du Bois was a founding member of the National Association for Advancement of Colored People. That is a fact, right? So he was a member of the NAACP, Association for Advancement of Colored People. So that is the fact, and our opinion is the first option, right? Because remember, everybody will give their opinion on certain things, right? So, as much as one person says that it is compelling, insightful, but difficult to understand, others might say that it is not insightful. However, I totally understand what he means. And that is someone's opinion. And it is okay to have our own opinions on certain um, things. All right. Which of these sentences, right, it states a fact? We need to say which one states a fact. And remember, we said as fact, it makes a claim that is based on research, observation, or experimentation. So, which sentence states a fact? Parents should not allow the kids to keep Burmese pythons as pets, or the typical length of a Burmese python is 16 to 23 feet. We need to say which one of these is a fact. Is it parents should not allow their children to keep Burmese pythons as pets, or the typical length of a Burmese python is 16 to 23 feet? All right, so we are first going to identify the fact within the sentence. And then once we have identified the fact, that is when we will also um, go over what the opinions might be. So, which sentence starts with or states a fact? The first one is parents should not allow the children to keep Burmese pythons as pets, or the typical length of a Burmese python is 16 to 23 feet. So the facts, right, is then that the typical length of a Burmese python is 16 to 23 feet, right? This clearly gives us an indication that this person um, researched the length of a Burmese python, right? And they gave an accurate amount, which is that it is 16 to 23 feet. The first option, which parents should not allow their children to keep Burmese pythons as pets, it is basically someone's opinion, right? It is someone's opinion because you might say people should not have pythons or dogs or forms of animals within their household in front of their kids, right? But sometimes these animals or pets can be the safest forms of animals. All right, so which sentence states a fact? A fact. Tornadoes are scarier than other natural disasters like earthquakes, hurricanes, and volcanic eruptions. Pardon. And then we have landslides are caused by many factors, including earthquakes, storms, and volcanic eruptions, and they can occur in any US state. We need to select the facts. Um, one of these two sentences, right? One states the facts and one basically states the opinion. Tornadoes are scarier than other natural disasters like earthquake, hurricanes, and volcanic eruptions. And landslides are caused by many factors, including earthquakes, storms, and volcanic eruptions. And they can occur in any US state. If we now select the fact within that sentence, right, then we can then say that the fact within that sentence is this one, which is landslides are caused by many factors, including earthquakes, storms, and volcanic eruptions. And they can occur in the US state, right? So that is basically a fact because landslides happens usually when there are earthquakes, storms, and forms of eruptions. Then we have the other sentence, which is tornadoes are scarier than other natural disasters like earthquakes, hurricanes, or volcanic eruptions. And that is someone's opinion. And why do we say that is someone's opinion? We say that is someone's opinion because if you also haven't experienced earthquakes, hurricanes, or volcanic eruptions, then we won't know what is really scarier, right? Because we latch onto something that has happened to us, right? Which we have experience of. But in this case, of the other natural disasters, right? If you haven't experienced an earthquake, a hurricane, or volcanic eruption, either within your state, your area, or so on, then you won't really know how scary it really is. which means that one person might say it is scary, the next person might say that it is not scary. But that is why we have opinions, right? And everybody has the right to state their opinions on certain things. All right, let us go to our test, right? And our test, which sentence states a fact? We need to say which sentence states a fact. Great Smoky Mountains National Park is fantastic because it has 150 official hiking trails, or more people visited Great Smoky Mountains National Park in 2014 than visited Yosemite and Yellowstone combined. We need to choose the fact. So, is it Great Smoky Mountains National Park is fantastic because it has 150 official hiking trails, or many people visited Great Smoky Mountains National Park in 2014 than visited Yosemite and Yellowstone combined. So if we look at what the fact is, right, then we can then maybe say the fact is more people visited more people visited Great Smoky Mountains National Park in 2014 than visited Yosemite and Yellowstone combined, right? So that sentence alone tells us that they did research, right? They did research on the title of something, right? Let's say of Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and then also made a comparison, right? Because now, remember, with comparing, or let's say with the facts, we need to also have evidence, right? But here was definitely that is basically a fact because it is showing us how it has changed, or how people have visited, right? Or how more people have visited, right? And that is why they give evidence to say that here is the book. If we go back to last year compared to now, this is either how we've grown or we haven't grown. And then we look at the first option, which is Great Smoky Mountains National Park, is fantastic because it has 150 official hiking trails. And once again, that is our opinion or your opinion, right? And we would say that is your opinion because not everybody is fond of hiking, right? So not everybody is keen on hiking or doing activities, right? Most times people go out to chill, if we should use the word now, chill. So which means that Great Smoky Mountains National Park is fantastic because it has 150 hiking trails, which means that the fact is more than X amount of people visited Great Mountain. We need to say which one is a fact. Hans Christian Andersen produced many fairy tales, including The Little Mermaid and The Ugly Duckling, during his literary career. Or we have the other option, right, which is Hans Christian Anders, Andersen's version of The Little Mermaid is not as poignant as modern retellers of the story. So we need to choose the best possible answer to show the facts. All right, so now if we look at one of these sentences, right, we need to state the facts. All right, so the first one says Hans Christian Andersen produced many fairy tales, including The Little Mermaid and The Ugly Duckling, during his itinerary career. And the second part says Hans Christian Andersen's version of The Little Mermaid is not as poignant as modern retellers of the story, right? So we can then say this is someone's opinion. All right, so if we were to select the facts, right? So if we look at the the two answers, right? Remember when it comes to facts and when it comes to opinions, right? Facts are more researched, right? It is observed or it is experimental, right? And opinions is basically your perspective on something, right? In this case, the Hans Christian Andersen version, The Little Mermaid, is not as poignant as modern retellers of the story. If you get anything incorrect, right? If you get anything incorrect, right? Just know that we usually find something very tricky. The tests, certain lessons can be very tricky. So if you find something or you get an answer incorrect, you can then go to where the correct answer is, copy the link, send it to us, and you will get 100 bonus points. So in this case, it means that Hans Christian Andersen's version of The Little Mermaid is not as poignant as the modern retellers of the story. All right, so we've got it. We need to say which sentence states a fact. Is it Dry Valleys, Antarctica is the driest place on Earth, followed by Arica and Chile? Or the cold, sunless winter months in Dry Valley, Antarctica are unbearable? We need to state a fact. So is it the first one, which is Dry Valley, Antarctica is the driest place on Earth, followed by Arica, Chile, or the cold, sunless winter months in dry valleys in Antarctica are unbearable? All right, so we need to select a fact, right? If we maybe select a fact, let us basically choose anyone. All right, let's choose this one. It says Dry Valley, Antarctica is the driest place on Earth, right? But sometimes we can't say it is the driest place on Earth, because if you do, then it means that you must have traveled the world, right? Let's maybe choose the second one, right, as a fact. So yes, right, it is the one that we basically chose, right? But like I say, if ever you get an answer that is incorrect, you can copy the link, look for the correct answer, and send it to us, and you'll get 100 bonus points, right? This is a fact that shows that Dry Valley, Antarctica is the driest place on Earth, followed by Arica and Chile. Sometimes people might say certain things and they haven't even traveled, but based on research, observation, and experimentation, that is correct. So we've got it. All right. So that is basically facts and opinions. And we say that facts It is either things that you have researched, that you have observed, that you have experimented, right? And remember, with facts, whenever we are writing, we need to give more facts than opinions. So less opinions, more facts, right? Your opinion can be followed by a fact, right? Well, let's say, yeah, your opinion can be followed by whichever the fact is, and your evidence needs to be clearly stated. All right, so now if we choose the evidence to support our claim, right? So we did facts and opinion. Now we need to consider claims. And to make an effective argument, you need to be sure to provide evidence that your readers will find trustworthy worthy and persuasive, right? People want to, or readers want to trust you whenever they are reading a reading piece, right? You need to be persuasive. So persuasive that you wouldn't want them to put the book down, right? Or whatever the reading is. You would not want them to put it down. They say that the strongest evidence for a factual claim is directly support the claim, comes from a credible source, such as well conducted research or an expert in the field, and is not merely anecdotal, right? So, in order for you to have strong evidence for factual claims, which is facts, you need to directly support the claim that you are about to make, the factual claim. There needs to be evidence with it. You need to have a credible source, meaning that I found this source it's in this book, it is in the dictionary, it is on the internet, and here is the link, right? So it comes from a credible source, such as a well conducted research or an expert in the field. And it's not just merely things that you say that you think is facts. If we look at claims, right, we see that with claims, in contrast to previous generations, millennials don't feel as compelled to get married, right? So if we were to research millennials not feeling as compelled to get married, right, then it means you need to have strong evidence to back up whatever your claim is. And once you've backed up your claim, that is when, like we say, when we go back and says that the reader will find it trustworthy and persuasive. Strong evidence, right? Especially based on the millennials don't feel as compelled to get married, right? So if we look at the strong evidence, right? Because remember we said evidence, you need to have your evidence. Amongst all groups surveyed, millennials were most likely to agree with this statement. Marriage is becoming obsolete, right? And the reason why it is becoming obsolete is because of most times things that we see in our homes, we see in our communities, we see in our states, we see on television, as well as most times the divorce rates that is high. You understand? All right. So now we're going to consider this claim, right? So we have a claim, and then we are going to have to choose the strongest evidence to support the claim. So college is worth the cost of tuition because graduates experience greater financial success. So which is the strongest evidence to support the claim? Is it the lifetime earnings of a college graduate are about $500,000 more than those of someone with only a high school diploma? Or a prominent financial blogger writes, "My father dropped out of college and his senior year and he always regretted it. I was determined to make the same mistake." And then we have the last one. College graduates are more likely than those who don't have college degrees to report being in excellent health, right? So these are claims as well as we need to choose the strongest evidence to support this claim. The claim is college is worth the cost of tuition because graduates experience great financial success. And remember, certain claims can also be our opinion, right? Certain claims can be our opinions because it is what we think it is right. But if your claim has backed up evidence, right? Either a book, the internet, then it basically becomes legit. So if we were to choose the strongest evidence to support the claim, then we can say that which is the first one, the life earnings of a college graduate are about $500,000 more than those of someone with only a high school diploma. And that gives us indication that university or college fees are expensive. All right, let's go to the next one. Women should be able to, this is another claim. Women should be able to serve in combat roles in the military because they are just as competent as men. Women should be able to serve in combat roles in the military because they are just as competent as men, meaning that they can also do what men do, specifically in the army or military. Now we are going to have to choose the best sentence to support our claim. So, which is the strongest evidence to support the claim? Cohesion is important in all military operations. This cohesion is not possible when men and women fight side by side. There is a reason that historically they haven't, and we should honor that reason, wrote one columnist. So, which means that this person is saying that women and men should not be fighting side by side, right? Which means that women should not be part of the military operation. The second one is a member of Congress said in a recent speech, our country has deep respect for everyone who serves in the military, and that respect extends to women. We honor their service and thank them, right? So that is what a Congress member said, thanking ladies that can also be part of the military. And then the last one is women in the military who finds himself in the line of fire responds with skills equivalent to those displayed by their male counterparts, said a senior policy analyst, right? So if we go back to our very first claim, it says women should be able to serve in combat roles in the military because they are just as competent as men, right? So if we were to select our claim, right, or the strongest claim or the strongest evidence to support our claims, then we can say women in the military who find themselves in the line of fire response with skills equivalent to those displayed by their male counterparts, said the senior policy analyst, right? So basically, most things what men can do, women can also do nowadays, right? We can also serve in the military and do be in the police force, right? All the certain things or professions that are mainly classified for men. All right. So just once again, right, going over what a claim is. We say that to make an effective argument, you need to be sure to provide evidence that your readers will find trustworthy and persuasive. Remember, if they feel the trustworthiness within the reading of your book, they would definitely, or let's say viewers or readers, would definitely buy another book or read another book, right? Because it is trustworthy and it is persuasive. And the strongest evidence for a factual claim is to directly support the claim that they're making. It comes from credible sources. Remember that you cannot just give opinions. There needs to be credible sources, especially when we're doing formal writing, right? According to this, right? And then you need to say where you got your credible sources. So, direct support from the claims, it comes from credible sources such as well conducted research or an expert in the field and is not merely anecdotal, right? So, you can either interview an expert within the field, but you need to have notes or recording, or a well conducted research that is supporting your claim. All right, so earlier on we went over what a fact is and what an opinion is, and we said we distinguish between facts and opinions, and we said facts, it is evidence, observations, and experimentations, right? So we have either evidence or your research, your observation, as well as your experimentation, and these shows that it is facts, right? And once we provide our facts, right, then facts needs to be proven by evidence. And what is going to be our evidence? Our evidence will mainly be, for example, where or how reliable is our source, right, which we have researched, right? How well have we done our observation, right? And our observations can also sometimes be in a form of recordings that you made, right? And then also experimentations. And with experimentations, you also need to basically write down, note down, jot down certain things so that, you are stating facts to make claims, right? And these facts will then be proven by evidence and literally all of the evidence that you will provide. Then we have an opinion. So statements of opinions that makes claims that are based on personal judgment or perspective, right? And yes, some of our opinions, it can be supported by evidence, but they cannot be definitely proven. Why? Because it is my opinion. This is what I think. This is my personal judgment. This is my perspective, right? So I always say that when we write an opinion or when we give an opinion, especially when we're doing formal writing or academic writing, when you state your opinion, try and state your opinion in addition to what the facts is that you just stated, right? So now you have researched, you have observed, you're basically jotting down your experimentations, and now you're giving your opinion on it. But first you have the facts, and then your facts is followed by your opinion. All right. So that is now the end of our lesson on writing arguments. And we only went over distinguishing facts and opinions, as well as choosing evidence to support your claim. And remember, when we are writing, we are specifically focusing on formal writing or academic writing. And with formal and academic writing, we need to have more facts than opinion, right? And all of our evidence need to be supported by a claim, right? Or let's say our evidence needs to support a claim. Evidence needs to link hand in hand to show that this is the fact, and my opinion follows. All right, so that is the end of our lesson. You should have an amazing evening further. Goodbye.